I have some friends I want to get up here. Andy Schectman is here from Miles Franklin. It's here for Andy. Will Lair from Perpetual Assets. I'm going to get Andy up here in a second to talk about... I have a lot of questions, but I also want you guys to ask questions. We've got microphones that will be thrown around. But I did want to talk about something I read in Bloomberg today. Did anybody see the Horn of Z's this morning, the morning news? The traders that are on trial for rigging the gold and silver market, these 3 traders at JP Morgan, we know they're just show ponies that were put there. It's funny because they were talking about, the main trader would click and delete his transaction so fast, he hurt his fingers. It's such bullshit. I used to joke about that. They don't use their fingers. It's all programmed in. Jamie Dimon has 50,000 computer programmers working for him. You think the head trader was clicking, getting a blister on his finger? No. It's all rigged with computers and programs written by these guys who... There is no law right now in trading on exchanges. The regulators run cover for the manipulation. But I read this morning, and new revelations came out about the lawsuit. On the last day, the jury's in deliberations now. They'll probably find him guilty because they said the jury gasped. That's a great word, gasped, when it was told how much money these gold and silver riggers made. And JP Morgan would make, on average, $20 to $30 million a year in profit from rigging gold and silver. And then the traders would get a big chunk of that. And I thought, that sounds about right, until they said in 2020, and they just threw this in there. In 2020, JP Morgan gold and silver traders made $1 billion. So they went from 20 to 30 million every year for the last 20 years, except 1 year, 2020, they made $1 billion rigging the gold and silver market. What happened in 2020? I mean, besides COVID, obviously. The election. JP Morgan was rung up by the DOJ for rigging the silver and gold market. So Ted Butler had long said that JP Morgan had somehow gotten their hands on over 1 billion ounces of physical silver. After rigging the silver market, keeping prices low, they take the physical silver off. And I guess they had to sell it. And what they did, actually, was they leased it to Bank of America with a fixed back end. Now, I was in leasing for 25 of those years when I was in banking. I used to structure back end of leases. And I talked to Ted Butler about this, and I said, well, obviously, it was a fixed back end. The leases that Bank of America had, fixed back end means they set a price at what they're going to buy it for with cash, so they never have to return it. So the DOJ gets with the SEC, gets with the CFTC, gets with Bank of America, and gets with JP Morgan and say, we're going to tell the public that JP Morgan got fined $920 million. And oh, by the way, you can cash in all that silver and make $1 billion, so you're actually making $80 million, so go along with it. Whose money is that? That's our money. If it's not our money, it was created by the banks to dilute our money. Anyway, Ted Butler didn't believe me. He said, no, there's no silver leases with fixed back ends. I said, have you ever seen a silver lease, Ted? Have you ever seen a lease? He said, well, no. He didn't know. And Ted's not a dumb guy. So I'm going to have to slowly train him about leasing. And you can do anything with a lease. You can say, okay, at the end of the lease, all the money and silver and 10 bushels of corn goes to Bix Weir from JP Morgan. I said, I'd sign that. You can do anything. So when you see the derivative numbers come out at the OCC, which is the Office of Comptroller of Currencies, you guys might have seen that graph I show with the big spike. That's just them adding the gold back in. That really meant nothing except it hid what JP Morgan and Bank of America were doing. On that note, I would like to invite my friend Andy Schectman up here to talk about a few things, and just to get him up here so we can drink beers together. Andy Schectman from Miles Franklin. Does anybody know Andy? I've seen him give speeches and talks on YouTube and bought silver from him. The best, right? The best. First of all, thank you for coming. Andy recently moved to the lovely vacation state of Florida where they are free, just like in Texas they're free. Welcome. You have a little tan. Life is good. Half shaven. He looks like a silver dealer, doesn't he?
Life is good, Bix.
First of all, why don't you give us a take? I'm going to ask you about the deal, obviously. Why don't you give us a take on what's the current standing of the physical silver market?
Physical silver market is tenuous, I guess, at best. It is, you look at the U.S. Mint, Silver Eagles, we're buying them back from the public for $10.50 over the price of silver, or they're about 10 and a quarter, 10 and a half.
That's 50% premium, 50%.
The U.S. Mint has been the model of inefficiency, making selling Eagles really something that I haven't recommended for the better part of 2 years. What we're beginning to see, I think, is a reluctance from the distributors to go. What I've been doing since the very beginning of COVID is I would go deep into my line of credit and I would buy as much future production as I possibly could, and I would buy months in advance and to guarantee future delivery, and it's becoming much harder to do that right now. The distributors are not certain that they're going to get the allocations, and so it's more of a, used to be able, I could lock these things in 3 months in advance. Now it's 30 days in advance. It's starting to get even shorter than that. They want everything up front. I think this market will be defined ultimately by an inability to source product. I've been saying that for a long time. I got a lot of heat for it because people think I'm just trying to, get you in the door and have you buy silver. I've done this since I was 19 years old. For 33 years, I've owned this company, and getting clients has always been my biggest challenge, not getting product. Getting product was easy. In fact, I used to have all the distributors call me and say, well, let me just source my product in your vault. You leave it there. If we need it, we'll pay to have it shipped out. If not, it's there. Those days are long gone. Getting product is becoming incredibly difficult. And if you realize that the U.S. Mint, which has been the model of inefficiency, and the Canadian Mint are the only two major mints in North America, the rest of which are across the Atlantic Ocean, it becomes even more difficult. And with inflation running at record levels all around the world, the mints are starting to have domestic demand that we hadn't seen really ever, and so getting product is becoming harder and harder and harder and harder. And I find it really interesting when you look at the U.S. Mint. We had a record year last year, and the last 2 years have been record, and for everyone in this industry. And 98% of everything we've done has been in silver, literally. I mean, very few transactions in gold on a percentage basis. Less than 2% of everything we've done for 2 years, almost 3. And the U.S. Mint called me a month ago because we're one of only 27 U.S. Mint distributors or resellers. And they said, Andy, by the way, we're cutting production or curtailing production on gold by 50% for the second half of the year. Since then, premiums on gold eagles and buffaloes have gone up almost $100, about $90. And so what you are beginning to see, I think, is the beginning of an environment where getting product will be very difficult. When we talk about this big deal that we did, you see a couple of big deals like that, literally, it would blow up the entire industry. So it's a very small industry, it's very fragile. Getting product, as you all have, unfortunately, the price hasn't performed the way we would have all expected it to. Ultimately, it will. But the gift that Bix has given you all by telling you to buy in early, I think, is having a seat at the party before the music stops. And I think the things that I see coming, most of which are centered around the dollar losing its petro status, with all of the coalition of these countries around the world moving away from the dollar and the BRICS nations, and even Saudi Arabia saying we're going to join BRICS. These are huge, huge deals that I think, like that, everything changes. Rick Rule, I was just at his conference last week. He got up on stage and he said 0.5% of the people in the United States have any metal at all. Or he said it differently. He said the entire financial matrix from, I think he said the Harvard Endowment Fund down to Joe Sixpack has a 0.5% allocation of metal in it. And if things start to really get funky in a higher interest rate environment, which I think they will, these wealthy people are waking up and they'll crowd everyone out in 10 seconds. And I was talking to someone here tonight. I don't know where he is. I shared a beer with him when I first got here, and he was talking about his local coin dealer who's reluctant to sell what he has because he'll sell it all in 10 seconds, and no one is selling anything to him, which will, I think, really underscore what this is all about, a market that is predicated on concern, not on greed. People don't care about selling their junk silver back to me. Doesn't matter what I offer them, and that's why you can't find it anymore. When Bix and I were talking about junk silver a few years ago, I would sell it to the public for 45 cents over spot. Now it's almost $9. Things are disappearing, and I think the awakening globally is only making it more and more difficult. So I don't say any of these things to talk my book, not even a little bit. I say it because it's happening, and it's my biggest concern as a business owner. The lack of product and the difficulty getting it is going to define this market, and I think it'll happen pretty soon.
Thank you. That's an excellent update. Okay, I love asking them doozies and questions that spin around in my mind after I've listened to every single one of Andy's YouTube discussions about this deal. So he had a $50 million deal through Bill Holter for American sovereign coins, gold and silver. Originally, she wanted 75% of that in Eagles, if you could find them. Was that right? And 25%.
As much as I could find.
I have a few questions about it. And has anybody heard of this deal and heard me talk about it, other people talk about it? It's a big deal. I mean, it's the largest deal for Eagles that I've heard of for Eagles. I mean, we've all heard of Buffett, grabbing 130 million ounces in the late 90s, and we heard of the Hunt brothers grabbing 110 million ounces in 1980. Most people might not have heard of it because it never hit the news, but J.P. Morgan grabbed, Butler thinks, 1.2 billion ounces when they were rigging the price for 10 years, and that's what these guys are going to trial about and probably will be put away for a while. My question on this deal specifically, knowing the law for Silver Eagles, it says the U.S. Mint, by law, must create silver eagles, not gold, but silver eagles in quantities sufficient to meet demand. That's the word-for-word language. They did change that language when we were bitching about it about 10 years ago so that the Treasury Secretary gets to decide whether or not the mint is meeting demand. Clearly, they're not meeting demand, just especially on this order. The largest order so far, because she said she might have more orders up to maybe even close to $1 billion worth of silver instead of 50 million. Another part of the U.S. Eagle law says that for bulk orders, the U.S. Mint will offer discounts. Now, paying $12 over spot, I would not call that a discount on Silver Eagles. If this person, this lady, it's a lady billionaire, of course, everybody and their mother was saying, it's this person, and then they're all looking at, there's 86 lady billionaires in the United States of America. But if she orders another big chunk, wouldn't it behoove her and everybody involved if she went right to the mint? I don't know if, I don't think there's a mint law that says you got to go through a distributor.
You can't.
But there is a law that says bulk discounts are required from the mint. And the mint has the capability to make over 50 million ounces per year. They did it in 2011 or 12, something like that.
They did 9 or 10.
Yeah, they did 47 million ounces. Now, I know some mint people. I've talked to them on the phone. They are really good workers. It's the politicians that are stopping this process. The mint has amazing efficiency if you take out politicians. The workers at the mint know what the hell they're doing. They create the greatest coin ever. If you ever see a silver eagle, it's the most, second greatest besides the Roto-Rooter coins, obviously. But the most, shall we say, the most popular sovereign coin. What can you do as a participant in this monster deal that should get a discount? You're the one who should be getting the discount, if you ask me. What can you do? Can you run in there with lawyers and say, hey, Janet Yellen or Beatrice Gibson is now the current head of the mint. She has never run a mint in her life. She was put there last year. She's had an HR career for 40 years, though. So if they're trying to wind down the mint, she's the perfect person. What can you do?
Not much. I mean, there's about a dozen, 10 or so primary U.S. mint distributors that all get allocations, and they all get their portion. I mean, there's more to it than meets the eye. I mean, it was done over the July 4th weekend or prior to it. She wanted it done before then. And the truth of it is that I could have done a lot more Silver Eagles. But you have to, there are some distributors in this industry that I wouldn't give my money to no matter what. And I couldn't stomach calling them. I couldn't give them the business. I have reasons to feel that way. So she bought pretty darn close to 900,000 Silver Eagles, and Bill was okay with that and said do the rest in junk silver and in Morgan and Peace silver dollars. So I could have got more, but I was taking allocations from a lot of distributors into August. I had 90,000 of them in stock and sold them, and then I called 2 or 3 people that I've known. Look, I've done this for 33 years. I know the people. There are other people I can work with, but I feel dirty when I do, and I don't trust them. I don't trust them with my clients' names. I don't trust them in doing business with them, and they've given me reason to do it. So there are those that I work with that maybe I pay a few cents more, but I sleep like a baby at night knowing that when I get off the phone with these people, it's done, and there's never any drama. There's never any issue. My client doesn't have to worry about getting phone calls from other dealers or whatever the deal is. So bottom line is this. I'll tell you how it all went down if you want to know.
Yeah.
I got a call from Bill on Friday, and he said to me, we're going to get a $50 million deal. And I'm thinking, no, we're not. Bill's a good friend of mine. He's a cowboy. He's straight up shooter. He's as honest as anyone I've ever known in this industry. I consider him a dear, dear friend. I believed Bill, but I didn't believe the client. Because if you've been in this industry long enough, you hear these stories all the time. Metric ton and this and that, and never happens. So I'm like, okay, Billy, that's fine. So anyways, he says he's going to get a wire Monday. Monday comes 5 o'clock in the evening. I'm heading home, and I said, Billy, we never got a wire. He says, yes, she went to the bank, and she has to go to the main branch. It's almost a 4-hour drive. They won't send the wire from this particular satellite branch. So, okay, fine. So you'll get it tomorrow, he says. So she goes to 4 hours away to another state, stays with her sister, goes into the bank, spends 3 hours in a room. They're trying to talk her out of doing it. She's getting furious. And at the end of all of this ridiculousness, they say, we can't send the wire today because the branch manager's not here. So I call Bill and I say, we didn't get a wire again today. He tells me this story, and he says she's going to threaten with bank regulators tomorrow if it's not there. She's thrown a fit, raised a scene, said they have till tomorrow. So tomorrow comes Wednesday. Now, mind you, she really wanted to do this on Friday, but even if you just count Monday, Tuesday, now Wednesday, we're going on 3 days. This is what she really wanted people to know, is that her money was held hostage. She is a massive depositor in the bank. Wednesday morning comes along, still nothing. It's about 2:30, 3 o'clock. I say, Bill, I haven't received it again. He says she's at the bank right now, and she's throwing a fit. About 5 minutes later, my operations gets a phone call from the bank, and they say, we want to know make sure your wire instructions are what we think they are. And I'm thinking, well, this is going to happen. And then they ask, it's a good thing I didn't take this call. They said, is your company big enough to do the deal? And I'm really thinking, is that any of your business? It's like I went to a bank in Florida the other day and wanted $4,000, and the lady asked me what I'm going to do with it. And it's just unbelievable. So anyways, the answer was yes, we can handle the order. And by 5 o'clock, we had a wire of $50 million. I never sent the client an invoice. I never sent her an email. Nothing. Bill said, fill it with as many Silver Eagles as you can get. She really wants it done by the end of the week. And put the rest in junk silver and in Peace and Morgan dollars, and then we'll do roughly half of it in gold. All of it U.S. I said, you're going to pay a ridiculous premium. He says, that's okay, that's what she wants. So the primary distributors are selling the Silver Eagles to all of the dealers. So I'm an authorized reseller. I'm one of 27. There's 27 authorized resellers that were nominated by one of the 6 or 7 primary distributors. The difference between the two of us is a $50 million line of credit, more or less, to the mint. Everything else is pretty much the same. And they're the ones that are jacking up the premiums, but they're bidding for them at actually ridiculous premiums as well, because the mint is so inefficient. They don't know if they're getting their next allocations, which kind of freaked me out about taking these allocations into August, which I did.
Does the mint charge a premium?
No,
they're not allowed to.
The
right?
mint sells the silver to the primary distributors at about $3 an ounce over spot,
which is about right around where their cost is.
Yeah, and they're selling them to us north of $11 over. So the margins that are not high. And when you think about it, if I'm paying $10.75 to buy Silver Eagles, and this woman calls me and says, "Okay, I'll sell you 100,000 of them," I got $1,750,000 or $1,075,000 that I can't hedge. I got to pay her that. And now if all of a sudden the mint says, "Oh, yeah, we got more Eagles for you," and the premiums drop, I'm screwed. And so there's a spread between buy and sell on these premiums because the premiums are so high, and you can't hedge premium. You can hedge metal exposure on COMEX, but you can't hedge the premium. So these premiums are only going to go higher on everything else. I don't know about Eagles. It's been this way for 2 years. It hasn't come back down.
You're the man. Thank you so much. I would like to start taking questions for myself or Andy. Paige will walk around with a microphone. Paige is in red. Raise your hand, Paige. Hi.
Hey, my name is John. I'm over here from San Antonio.
All right.
And for you, Andy, the question is, what is slowing down production? Is it sourcing the material? Is it they can't produce it because they don't have a lack of employees?
That's what they want us to believe. But the interesting thing is, if we talk about like the silver blanks, most of them come from the Sunshine Mint. But the Sunshine Mint makes blanks for other countries too. And I forgot which ones, but I'm going to guess and say the UK, South Africa, Australia. They make the blanks there for those coins. In fact, they even stamp them there in many of the cases. So I've had no problem getting those coins. Whatever the reason is, it makes you wonder. You know, there's a fine line between conspiracy and reality. All I can tell you is that this problem, there's 6 major mints in the world: U.S., Canada, Austria, Australia, South Africa, United Kingdom. None of them have these problems. None of them. But the U.S. And the U.S. is the only one who is curtailing production of gold as well. It's as if they're trying to kind of make it extra difficult for all of us to seek asylum out of the dollar. And here again, am I being conspiratorial or am I not? Is it a production issue? Well, then why isn't it the case with the other mints?
I would say that being U.S. Silver Eagles made by the U.S. Mint is actually the definition of a dollar in the United States. So if we do have a banking collapse and no one can decide what to do, we have a constitution that says that silver and gold eagles are the money of the United States, whereas other countries don't have that. Maybe that is the reason they don't want us smart silver investors getting our hand on all the future money. And I mean, yeah, it's a conspiracy thing, but it's also what the Road to Rooted documents that I discovered on January 1st, 2007, with a hangover on New Year's Day. I opened the pamphlet. I didn't open it because it was online, but there were 3 documents. The first was Wishes and Rainbows. That's the comic book. Second was the Road to Rooted, a teacher's guide, explaining why this comic book is so important. And the third was something called Banking Basics. And if you open that up, there's a picture of a girl cashing in dollar bills for gold coins. This is coming from the Fed, Boston, saying basically, and then we'll talk about 9/11. Ruta wrote that in the sand, and then on 9/11/2008 is when the banking collapse happened, that all banks almost shut their doors. We were a half an hour away from that in the United States. People don't know how close we were, but it was all planned. Because I found this document a year and a half before the collapse of 2008, September 11th, 2008. And it makes you thinking, oh my God, they had this plan long before September 11th, 2008. So when is the next one being planned for? And then will we raise our hand and say, give us a CBDC that they can track us and follow our every move? Will we go back to the US dollar that they use and abuse? Will we go to the NESRA Act, the GESRA Act, the quantum financial system? Any of those would not work. It takes deciders. You need someone to decide, this is what you're going to do. There will be nobody who has that kind of clout, especially in banking and especially in government. So what do? It's already on the books. Gold and silver eagles is money. It's already there. That's my take. It's the conspiracy take, too.
No, I love it. And just so to your point, after doing this deal, a lot of the people in the industry who I've met throughout the years, they're calling me, these big wholesalers. I talked to one of them today. It's one of the primary distributors, and their name is Stone. And they're a massive company, and mostly in hedging and in scrap all around the world. And I asked the guy, how many eagles are you getting in allocations? He says 30,000 or so every 2 weeks. So this is one of the primary distributors that sells to everyone who buys silver eagles. And it's not just in North America. They sell silver eagles around the globe. If one of them's getting 30,000 every 2 weeks and this woman bought 900,000, do the math. It's not plentiful. It's not. And it's hard to come by. And so I don't know. It's a great mystery as to why the hell they're doing this. It's one of the few parts of the government that's profitable. But there's no question that they're limiting production of things that people want.
Illegally. All right.
They're not going to tell me. They're not going to tell me anything.
I asked.
They don't tell me.
They didn't tell me.
Even when I was told by people on the inside that the mint was going to shut down in between March or April to July, and I said this publicly, I got a ton of shit for it because I was told by someone who knows that they're going to shut down. And so Chris Marcus calls the U.S. Mint and he recorded it. No, we're not going to shut down, Mr. Marcus. They shut down. We didn't get squat for 4 months. Nothing.
Or they kept making coins. They just never released them to anybody, so and we're saving them for something else.
So they're not giving us the full scoop.
Yeah. All right. Next question. We're gonna try to go faster on the questions too, so we get more in.
Hey, my name is Chris. I'm from Atlanta.
You came all the way here from Atlanta?
It's a long story by way of.
I love it. Just say, "Oh yeah, Bix, we came to see you."
We came by way of Wisconsin, quite by accident, but I'm glad I'm here. So I've watched these news conferences, and so I have a two-part question. Right? Got to do that part.
You're like the press
exactly.
in the White House.
Right. It feels very much like that here, right? So my wife and I are watching your latest video from yesterday, and she reaches over and she punches me, and she says, "See, you need to listen to that guy because he says we should hold all of our silver."
Yes.
Okay. So I've been accumulating for a while, and I'm fortunate enough to have way too many ounces of silver at my house.
She'll punch you for that too. I guarantee you.
So
talk to my wife.
So then I get the good idea of putting it into a vault. Now your friend Andy mentioned that he has a vault. Is my silver safe with Andy in his vault? I mean, are there certain vaulting solutions that are in fact safe, or am I in trouble and I need to figure out how to get a whole bunch of stuff to my house?
I am going to be. That's all I can be, Andy. You know that.
First of all, it's not my vault though. It's Brink's. It's our program, but I don't hold it myself.
Okay.
I understand.
It's a great question. I've been asked many times, and I have very good friends who participate in vaults and own vaults. I have a good friend who has silver credit cards. Really cool program, but he holds silver for other people, and he's honest as the month of May. At some point, I believe, now this is my own belief, that the governments around the world, when we do have a monetary collapse, then the world has never been on an unbacked fiat monetary system with the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. The insanity of that, you really have to step back. It's like mass hallucination or something's going on. How we got in this position, you can say it's computer rigging, you can say it's a million different things. The reality when that ends, it's not like Argentina losing its currency or Zimbabwe or the Weimar Republic. This is the world. The world fiat system would crash with one single bank going down. They call them too big to fail banks, which means no ATMs would work on the planet. In that scenario, which I believe that scenario is coming, it's the only way to wipe out all this crazy debt. In that scenario, each government where this silver or gold resides will have an opportunity to exert their force on large stocks of metal. No matter how much I love whoever is storing it, and there's some great, honest people who store this metal, they might not have a choice. They have employees they pay in cash. It could be part of a bankruptcy. It could, the bankruptcy, if the system stays together and the banks go down, pretty much everybody's bankrupt. Is there any court that would be in session doing, okay, this is how much you get for this? Or would the guards run away with all that silver because they want to take care of their family? We are at that point, and we won't always be like this. I don't think it's always been like this. But right now, of all times, the only guarantees I can give you is the metal you have in your own possession will be yours after the crash. Now, can you defend it? That's one thing. The first metal that silver investors buy is lead. But at the same time, I have friends who have massive amounts of silver held in vaults, and they said, I just can't keep it. And I get it. And what I'm talking about is a drastic scenario, but everything that I study points directly to it happening real soon.
Let me just add.
I'll let you go ahead on it.
First of all, Doug Casey has made something famous that I say all the time. Gold and silver are two of the only assets in the world that are not simultaneously someone else's liability. And when the shit hits the fan, that is coming. And I really do think the world reserve status, for the petrodollar status, is going to be challenged. And it's as simple as Saudi Arabia saying thanks for the memories, but we're going to open up oil purchases to other currencies, including our BRICS brothers and sisters who we're joining. Gets real funky real fast, and I think that there's no question having it in your possession is the best way to do it. I tell everyone that. Do not utilize our storage systems with Brinks, and I use Brinks because they do things the right way. I have a vault. I have a big one in North Dakota. I want nothing to do with holding people's metal. But the bottom line is that that's our program is with Brinks, and it's only if you can't hold it yourself. And I think counterparty risk is going to come into play a lot. But look at it this way. I could have $100,000 in gold in my two front pockets. I could sprint to my car. $100,000 in silver is going to be 400 pounds. So it becomes an issue pretty quick. Right. If you can hold it, do it. Remove counterparty risk, 100%.
But your silver will turn into $100 million.
Yeah.
I'd carry that on my back. I put some on Buddy's back, he'd be running down the street.
You're better off digging a hole in the backyard and being a midnight gardener than storing it in our facility. But if it gets to the point where you can't sleep anymore, then in a world of imperfect choices, I like our program. And that's the best I can give you, but it's a fair question.
But I would say also, on that quote that you said about no third-party risk,
yep.
That was true until cryptos came around. Certain cryptos. And it depends how you hold them. I mean, it's very different.
I agree with that.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you want to have something that isn't someone else's liability.
And when I had a debate, myself and Cliff High, when you go into a debate with Cliff High on your team, you're pretty much guaranteed you're not going to lose. But we debated Bill Holter and Jim Sinclair about Bitcoin, and then we were going to do gold in the Grand Canyon, and I was all prepared for that one, but we never got to it because I started the debate, and then Cliff added to what I said. And the biggest thing that Jim Sinclair instantly said, "Oh my God, you're right." Before Bill could even say a word, I said, Bitcoin is a standalone asset with no third-party risk if you hold it properly. And that clicked. Well, Jim Sinclair's like, he's Mr. Gold. He's a brilliant guy. I studied him back when I first got into gold. And I was honored just to talk to him. But the debate lasted literally maybe a minute. And because Jim instantly saw what I was talking about, and Cliff got more technical. But they instantly saw it's a standalone asset that the whole system can fall apart. You still have your 1 Bitcoin. You still have your 1 ounce of silver and your 1 ounce of gold. That's the beauty of these assets and why they're so incredibly important for our future. All right, next question, Paige.
Hello.
Hi. You gotta like kiss it.
Hey.
Hey, here it is.
Hello. I drove in from Houston. My name is Gregory Chin. I got a question about silver and the large holdings that you say people have. Since we're here at the Freedom Roadshow, is there any plan or anybody aware of the technological devices that we all carry around with us to be secure, or make any type of semiconductors that would be secure that could not be hacked? Is anybody interested in doing anything secure like that with their silver?
I would wait. With their silver or with their devices?
With silver. We're talking about silver and how silver is necessary for these electronic devices.
Okay. The security of silver within your device, so like the 100th of an ounce of silver that's in your cell phone? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it gets to security with, we don't know who's on our phone, truthfully. We know the government is. I was reading this technical magazine how the government could spy on you through the electrical wires where you plug in with nothing plugged in. They could rig it to set up a device that listens to you through the plug in your wall. So if our government can do that, the corruption is so beyond deep right now. They're in this room. Look around. There's a couple CIA, FBI people within this room, I guarantee you. They'll report back, "Oh, we got busted." Bix told them about we were in the audience. I can usually spot them too, but not this time. Everybody's got that cowboy hat on. But yeah, it's you just gotta. I mean, the way you have to live these days is there's no hiding anymore. You can't hide, so all you gotta do is fight. That's my take. All right, another question, Paige.
My name is Jason Booth from Little Wing, Texas. I'm an hour south of here, and I'm one of the White Hats.
All right, we have a white hat in the crowd. There's another one over there.
Yeah.
They got us cornered. Oh no.
Welcome to Texas. I'm glad y'all are here. And I drove in 2.5 hours this afternoon. I happened to go online because I was unstaking some data, and I saw the announcement that you're in Austin tonight. I'm like, oh my God, I got to drop everything I'm doing.
Why are you unstaking data?
Just making some moves.
Okay, all right.
A lot of us in the Woo world, we're looking at markers to happen. And Uncle certain markers happen. Okay.
Yeah, switch mics.
And a lot of folks in in the silver bugs and stackers and Wall Street Silver and the Redditors have been eagerly waiting for the whales to show up. And so this purchase, Andy, yeah, this big one, you alluded to it earlier about other billionaires, other whales following. Is this kind of, are you seeing interest at that level? Are conversations being held? Are people waking up at that status?
No, honestly, I haven't. I mean,
But you did say 2 years ago when we started working a lot together, he said, all the sovereign wealth funds and the people, the big money is going to be getting in. I need to prepare us for that. And now it's happening.
Well, yeah, I did. And I mean, look, we've 7-figure orders when I was in this industry and, 15, 20 years ago. You might get one a year, two. We get a lot of 7-figure orders now. We get calls from financial advisories. We get calls from advisors who never would have called us before. What happened with this order is something, one of the guys that I did all of this through my main distributor, my main company, my trading desk, and one other. And I could have called others, but I didn't want to because I don't like them. I don't trust them. But one guy that I did this who's been in this for 50 years, he knows everyone. I've been in this for 30. He knows everybody. So he probably called a lot of the distributors that I had no interest in talking to. And he said to me, Andy, I've never seen an order this big ever. No, nor has anyone in this industry. And in fact, my banker called me and said, I've never seen a wire this big. So, no, not yet, but it will. We are seeing a big expansion into people and their willingness to spend 6 and 7 figures. But the money that, that big money, most of it is controlled by advisories that aren't really opening the door to these people to. You pull that money out of an advisory, it makes a big, big dent. When I started in this industry, they were stockbrokers. They made a percentage of the trade, not a percentage of money under management. And if you're that wealthy, you're not managing your own money. Someone else is. They're not calling me yet until they get enough heat from their clients who say, get me out of this shit right now and get me some metal, or they call me themselves. But I do think Bill going on Greg Hunter, me going on Bix, Wall Street Silver with Jim and Ivan and talking about it, certainly I think it's caught the eye of a lot of big money who's maybe now thinking, but it hasn't really happened yet to this level. Maybe it will. The client believes that up to maybe $1 billion will be spent in the next 6 months. That's what she's told us. We'll see if it happens. Again, I'm skeptical, but I'll tell you this, that if someone like Elon Musk wanted to blow up the entire physical market, he could do it in one day. And there would be nothing left in North America. If you figure it's me, JM Bullion, SD Bullion, APMEX, 4 or 5 other companies that say they all have 50 million in inventory. That's what, $500 million. It's gone. I mean, gone. And then you're waiting months to get product and competing with everyone else in the world. So it's a very, very fragile ecosystem that was always, we had more product than we ever needed to sell, and now I think it's going to be the opposite of that, but not yet.
I think the Elon comment, my next thing I'm working on right now is trying to figure out exactly how much silver Elon uses every year for all his products. Oh my God. I'm already up to tens of millions of ounces. His companies will be gone unless he somehow secures the silver to put in his his solar panels, his electric cars, his space programs. Everything he does. And he's not an idiot. So you think, why is he buying Dogecoin again? When he should be buying massive amounts of silver so that he can produce electric cars in the future. He can produce solar panels.
But that's the whole thing that's unique about silver. What other asset, maybe platinum a little bit, what commodity has that duality of demand where you need it in industry and it's so massively desired as a monetary hedge? That battle between the hedge funds and the industrials is coming soon, I think. So, and when you see it depleted at 7 to 1 in terms of what it's coming out of the ground at right now globally and priced at 90 to 1, when you see the way that they're stealing metal without anyone knowing, where almost 100 million ounces or so has been pulled out of the ETFs in the last few months, they're finding ways to take possession. The others, this big group of sovereign wealth funds and family offices, again, they're taking huge possession of gold and silver off the exchanges. It's happening. It's happening, and we're all going to wake up and say, geez, we saw all these things happening, and then bang, it's over. I really think that's coming, truthfully. I'm not trying to say that. I just think that there's going to be an awakening, because you guys are the pimple on the elephant's ass The truth of it is the big money out
Gee,
there.
thanks.
And it's true. I'm part of it too, but it's true. The big money, the elephant, they have no idea yet. They think the Fed's going to engineer a soft landing, everything's going to be okay. When they wake up and realize, my God, we've lost half of our wealth and it's continuing to fall, what do we do? What better place to go than silver? And that big money, in a blink of an eye, will decimate the entire North American stockpile.
There's over 750 billionaires that live in the United States. And there's over 3,500 in the world. Remember, silver is global. I mean, what if Putin said, hey, everybody, you want to fuck the United States? Go buy silver. Bang, all the banks collapse instantly. He knows, too. I mean, Putin sent his number one top advisor to the Yukon GATA conference way back in the day when I was a GATA member. And we're like, oh, my God, Putin's number 2 guy in finance is going to the Yukon, and it was not easy to get to the Yukon. Bill Murphy was bitching, oh my God, it took me forever to get to the Yukon. But Putin sent his number 2 guy from finance, who was his personal number 1 financial advisor, to the GATA conference. Putin knows what we know in this room, and more.
But why do you think he's not bitching? Because they're the ones accumulating it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Would you, if you knew that, see, that gets me to your buyer, the woman who's buying. I mean, I was a broker for a while. I was a broker of used computer equipment back in the day. DEC Equipment, Digital Equipment Corporation. And I made a huge mistake. I was a kid, and the company had all these leases coming back, and I think it was 2,000 little pieces of computer equipment. I was going to flood the market, and I'm yelling, hey, I've got computer equipment for sale here. Never do that, ever. You don't want the market to know what you're doing. If you're a monster buyer, that's why this buying is so interesting to me, because she said, I want the world to know this. To me, that's a patriot.
She wanted the world to know that more than anything, that it took her almost 4 days to get her money. Mm-hmm. And that's what made her so angry. She didn't care that we told them that she bought silver, but she wanted everyone to know how difficult it was that it's much easier to deposit your money than it is to withdraw it, is what she basically said.
And also on that, it wasn't a big bank, right? It wasn't a huge bank.
It was a small bank I've never heard of.
So you think of a small bank that you've never heard of, and say she had $50 million. I think she had 60. 50 or 60?
10 million went to her brokerage account.
So she had $60 million in this bank. That bank, I guarantee you, that was their largest depositor. They took that 60 and turned it into 600 million that was out on loan, because that's what banks do. And all of a sudden you have this massive withdrawal. What do? I guarantee you they ran to the Fed and said, oh my God, this is what's happening. What do we do? We have FDIC insurance, but FDIC has no money in it. And they bailed him out. He probably got a bailout from the Fed.
Probably did.
Okay, one more question for Andy, and then we're rolling. Where did Paige go? Back here.
Mr. Schectman, Jake from Conroe, Texas. It's a 4-hour drive. Pleasure having you here. Thank you, Bix.
We've been driving for a month, by the way.
I've seen you on YouTube. Hey, I guess make it short. I really like the foreign mints. I love Eagles. Got those. That's fine. If you have contracts, we'll say the 2022 Britannias and Coup Grands and all that. If you have those set for this year, are the contracts going to end by the end of this year, or you think you're going to be able to prepay and have those the 4 other mints still selling and shipping it to us next year?
You never know. Everything is very fluid. The UK, the South African, and the Australian mint, and I guess the Austrian, they've been as good as can be. They're the ones that we've, for the last really almost 3 years, the ones we've focused on entirely. Because while the U.S. mint has been horrible and overpriced, the Canadian mint hasn't been far behind them either. So those other mints have been great. But, one thing I've learned in this industry is that everything can change in a matter of days. It really can. When the price of silver went from 21 to 9 in 2008, like that, within a week, every major mint in the world was sold out of product. Every one. Every refinery in North America and around the world was sold out of product. And I was getting phone calls from distributors in Ireland who were saying, I can't get anything in Germany or Switzerland, can you help me? I was calling the U.S. Mint. We'd just become a distributor with them or a reseller, and they said, don't call us, we'll call you. And it happened in a week. And if it weren't for David Morgan, who called me up and he said, Andy, I got these friends in Washington, a company called Pyromet. They've been in medical device forever, and they've been stripping silver out of X-ray machines for 30 years. They want to get in the business since there's nothing to be had. And they made these horribly ugly bars that only said 100 ounces. They didn't say of what, just said 100 ounces on them. But the entire industry, every company in America was selling those ugly bars because nothing else was available. And it happened literally within 4 or 5 days of the price falling from 21 to 9. Everything was gone. And gold too, 1,000 to 700. And when you would think the price was falling like that, you would think there was nothing but supply being dumped on the market. It was a paper raid, and everything disappeared. So to your point, and this is what I was getting at earlier, the distributors aren't allowing me to lock in longer now because there's so much uncertainty. It's 30 days basically. At the beginning of COVID, what saved me was the ability to lock in 90 days in advance. And that's what allowed me to, I just bought everything I could, went deep into my line of credit. Really can't do that right now. So, I hope so, but who knows?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andy Schectman.